still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and that's just really admire them. Small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and that's just really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In a bar. See for mama. Get 10 fat chicken. And ask you for one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and just really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like roses. All you need, bright and shining. You must be, and show me the one. Love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girl, second the boys. Sunday, Monday, afternoon. We will spend our honeymoon. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. The only fire down there. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalated, shoot, shoot, shoot. And I wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, and she fell down, and she fell in the ocean too. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. Hear them singing? Children, children, yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. How me go get up? I'm on the chair. So what's it called? Be not gay. Bad picnic. Be not gay. Wicked picnic. Be not gay. Oh, small days is still on the mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. Small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. Small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. In a bar. See for mama. Get 10 fat chicken. And ask you for one. And she won't give me one. You see that girl named Dorothy. She fat like a butter. And she muggle like a chow. Oh, small days is still on my mind. Small days is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance and really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like roses.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All right, good evening. It's 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Let me just have you guys know right off the bat that I'm not going not a minute past 10 o'clock tonight. You're getting a full 55 minutes, and that's it. 55 minutes, and I'm out of here. It's Friday night, and you know what else it is, right? Our guest this evening is no stranger to you guys. It's been around for quite a... Okay, let me not go there because... I'm also, people might be saying that about me too as well. But it's Paul Slowe, CCH, DSM, ACP. ACP means Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired. DSM, CCH, and all those legitimate titles. It's no other than Paul Slowe, no stranger, a household name, a man who has been standing up and trying to ensure then that there's law and order in a lawless country right now. Law and order in a lawless country right now. But he needs no further introduction. But before I get to our guest, Mr. Paul Slowe, let me just say good evening to all. Every single one of you watching, those who are peeping, those who are listening in Guyana, outside of Guyana, wherever you are, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. I noticed some people are being very kind to me this evening. I just want to say thank you all so much. But let's get straight down to business. Mr. Paul Slowe, good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Mark. Good evening to your viewers, and happy birthday to you.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much indeed. I appreciate it. I know you made contact with me very early this morning, and I really want the people to know that I appreciate that. So many people have reached out to me as well, and I really do appreciate it. As we get straight down into business, let me ask you the first question. How have you been, sir?
Oh, I've been fine. I have been enjoying good health, and I'm happy to be in the land of the living, as we would say.
Yep, and thank you. And we're happy that you are in the land of the living, and we do hope that you continue to be in the land of the living for many, many more years to come. Not only to the satisfaction of the people of BV, better for acting, but the entire Guyanese population inside and outside of Guyana. I notice also that you've been very vocal on your show, Speaking Out, which airs every Wednesday from 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And just let me salute yourself and your co-host for a fantastic job that you guys do in ensuring that you keep the corrupt regime in Guyana accountable. But it seems as though these sort of things falling on deaf ears. They're deaf ears because they're not about being held accountable. They're not about the rule of law. It's just massive corruption. But before we get into all of that, again, let me welcome all of our listeners and good evening to all of you. One of the things that caught my attention, Mr. Slowe, is this guy who is running for president of the United States of America. And he's young, he's ambitious, but we are seeing and hearing a lot of dotishness coming out of his mouth. Vivek Ramaswamy. Vivek is saying that if he becomes president of the United States of America, he will deport children of undocumented immigrants born in the U.S., a right that is given to these individuals through the 14th Amendment of the United States of America. And the 14th Amendment basically states that anybody born in the United States of America, it didn't say if you were born out of wedlock or whether it's an anchor baby, because we know a lot of anchor baby stuff goes on. But if you were born via undocumented immigrants, that you are not a citizen of the United States. Amendment, I'm sorry, what is it? Sorry, the 14th Amendment, sorry about that. The 14th Amendment is very specific. Those who are born in the United States of America are United States citizens. Story done. But this guy here now, I guess he's just preparing for some sort of controversy, and just whatever comes out of his mouth. I mean, he's a bright guy. He's a successful businessman. Yes, he's pretty young as well. But I wonder about these ridiculous statements coming out of his mouth. Your take on this particular statement, Mr. Paul Slowe, that he will deport if he becomes president of the U.S. He will deport, and this guy is the son of an immigrant from India, but he will deport children of undocumented immigrants born in the United States of America. Your take on this, please, Mr. Slowe.
Well, as you rightly pointed out, it is unconstitutional, and the next step might be to deport persons who, they have what we call these vacation babies, where many of the government and other officials, the spouses come, or the spouse come to the States when they are in advanced pregnancy and give birth. So they have to be concerned, because I guess it's just a step away from doing that. But these politicians, we have them in Guyana as well. They speak their mouth prattle before they engage their mind, and don't think things through. They just say things that they believe are going to be popular with their supporters. And that is what we have. It's not something that is uniquely American. The Guyanese politicians have been making some foolish statements as well.
All right, very foolish indeed, but we'll see how this goes. He's playing up. I've noticed some comments from some folks. He's playing up to the base, whatever that baseless base is. But he's young, he's ambitious. You can't knock him on that. But a lot of ridiculous things coming from him. I guess it's politician. Whenever political thing, whenever people are campaigning, they say all manner of dotishness. I just imagine that someone is on the campaign for 2025 or whenever elections will be held in Guyana, that they will say they will lock Irfan Ali up and throw the key away. We'll lock Jack Deo up, throw the keys away. All the corrupt businessmen, we want to ensure that Guyana is a beautiful country once again. We'll lock him up, lock him up. I guess that's going to go a long way if politicians campaigning next time around would say that, because we heard the ridiculous things coming from Irfan Ali's mouth when they were campaigning. 50,000 jobs, free education at the university level, something they took away and denied people for over 2 decades. Your take on the broken promises and the propaganda, 50,000 jobs and free education at the university level?
Well, there are lots of promises are made during the campaign. Gaisuko is another, and so many other things. Public servants were to get increased in pay. A lot of promises are made. And the sad thing about some of those promises, especially as it relates to increasing the salaries for public servants, the government now is in a position where they have the money, where they can make the salaries livable for public servants. But it is clear that they have no intention of doing that. So more promises are going to be made. And many times you wonder, because it would appear that so many people are gullible, they listen to these things, all these fanciful talk, and they don't realize that they're being duped. The same thing running up to the local government elections, money passing left, right, and center, and lots of promises. And as soon as that is over, you're back to square one.
Back to square one again, faking the people with a little quick kiss and just a little million Guyana dollars drainage contract to clean drains and so forth. And they're making much hype about that. But let me say this, according to one of those famous rappers, don't believe the hype. So when you see these videos and you see these propaganda stuff, let me just remind you folks, don't believe the hype. Mr. Paul Slowe is correct. All of the promises made during the course of local government elections, it was just a political propaganda to get little support, which they didn't get much anyways. And local government elections over, it's back to square one to these criminals in the installed PPP regime. As we head now to the sugar industry, these sugar workers protested, of course, their constitutional rights. They were handcuffed. Some of them were manhandled, and they were stripped, basically, as we see majority of them without shirts, taking what is called their mug shots. What is your take, Mr. Slowe, with regards to the ridiculous charges, especially the one that is so extreme, terrorism?
Well, I don't know. They are trivializing this terrorism charge. Some people on the East Coast, they were saying terrorism. and they are trivializing the charge of terrorism. I don't know what the facts are in relation to what is alleged that these people did, but as you rightly pointed out, people have a right to protest. And then I read in this morning's paper in respect to those same persons, the commander of the division, the commander of the Borbies division is saying to Stabrook News that the reason why these people are shirtless and almost naked when their mugshots were taken is because the police are doing profiling. I couldn't believe, I had to read again, that this is the commander of the police division having an interview with Stabrook News, is admitting that they're doing profiling, and apparently he doesn't know that profiling is illegal. And to have these persons photographs taken out in that manner, it must be some violation of the constitutional rights.
Absolutely a violation of their constitutional rights. You have served the Guyana Police Force for almost 40 years, or maybe 41 years, correct me, sir. But again, thank you for your service. But when you hear the commander of, B Division out there in Berbice, how does that make you feel in terms of policing work and confidence that the public should have, members of the public should have in the Guyana Police Force, that a commander is speaking about profiling, removing the shirts of individuals who were picked up merely for protesting?
Well, it confirms what I have been saying, or what we have been saying on our program, is that you have lots of persons who are pitchforked into these positions, including the very commander, with no experience and no training for these senior positions. They have no training. They're just put there because of the politicians want them there to do their biddings. And therefore, when they are confronted with these situations, you have this. And he's not alone. If you want to recall, not so long ago in the Dharmlal's case, the commander of Essequibo Coast Region 2, what's his name, Kemrat Shivbaran, got involved in the process very early, illegally involved in the process, and taking a statement from the victim, which amounted to obstruction or perverting the course of justice. You had the next commander on the East Bank when they had the demonstrations on the highway there. He went there, he called the people thugs. He said they were thugs and all of that. You have the commander in Region 8, Madja, where they had this disastrous fire. No protection of the crime scene. So the very next day, the prime minister and all of these people are trampling in a crime scene where, according to them, 20 murders took place. So it's clear evidence that the people who are put in these positions are not competent enough to command these senior positions. And that is what we have been saying all along. And we have been calling on the administration to make sure that these people are exposed to proper training. And I have said repeatedly, I don't necessarily blame these persons, because they pick them up and they put them there, and you can't refuse to go. But it shows that something is wrong with the system, where people get to these very senior positions. Mine is a commander of one of the largest police divisions, Region 6. We used to call it B when I was commander there, but now it's Regional Police Division 6, a very senior, very large division, and he's making statement like this to the media. So it clearly shows that, as we would say in Guyana, they ain't ready.
Absolutely. 19 minutes after 9 o'clock, I agree with Mr. Paul Slowe, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, a man who was denied the rank of even moving up, possibly to Commissioner of Police, but because of wickedness and vindictiveness by the PPP regime at that point in time. Many of you may recall Mr. Paul Slowe refused to conduct or to carry out an illegal act when a quote-unquote businessman was under investigation on the quarantine. Well, not on the quarantine, Rosignol or somewhere around that area. Mr. Paul Slowe, then commanding the B Division, as they called it then, refused to return the firearm license to that businessman who was under investigations. The story goes on, but I hope someday Mr. Paul Slowe would be able to write a book and let the younger generation, especially those who want to become policemen and women, to understand what transpired back then under the PPP regime. But Mr. Paul Slowe, I know you're not a lawyer. Maybe we have lawyers who are watching this program tonight. Neither am I a lawyer. But again, I head back over to this terrorism charge. People are protesting. They're exercising their constitutional rights to protest. At least one of their constitutional rights. But here it is that you have an installed regime that is denying people those rights and basically using these frivolous charges such as terrorism. Has it ever passed through your mind that that particular charge that is being thrown around just like polorium, maybe mitai or plantain chips, should be challenged in court?
Well, first of all, I don't know how they're going to prove a charge like terrorism in those circumstances. And as you rightly pointed out, I am no lawyer, but I have been in the senior command of the police force for a long time. I spent 37 years in the police force. And I am sure that in circumstances like what took place there, people are demonstrating. It's not the first time that people come to demonstrate. It's not the first time people attempt or block a carriageway. And to call that terrorism, I don't know. And I don't know if the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, would have seen because, to be able to file such a charge, to institute such a charge, one would expect that you're going to have statements, because just to say that the people behave in a terroristic manner is not sufficient. You have to have statements to support it. But the sad part, what's going to happen is that these matters are going to go before the court, or they have gone before the court, I think, already. They're going to be dragged out for a long time. People, money is tied up with bail, because I understand how much $100,000 bail for all of these persons. So they are going to be tied up in bail. They are going to be losing time on the job because they're going to be running to court, and it's going to drag on and on and on. And eventually, a charge like terrorism is going to be dismissed, because I am sure they do not have evidence to prove such a charge. Maybe obstructing, maybe disorderly behavior, but to go to a court and to prove terrorism is a stretch. And I don't think they're going to have the evidence to do it. But as I've said, they're going to string the people out. You run to court every couple morning, drag out, the files are not ready, witnesses are not ready, statement. And that is what is going to go on. So this thing about justice is not what it's supposed to be. And I have said, we're living in the dystopian animal farm, where some are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Absolutely. And we see that every day. Some are equal and some are even more equal than others. And the injustices meted out to people, especially the ordinary ranks, ordinary folks out in Guyana, it's appalling. If you're now joining us 23 minutes after 9 o'clock, Mark Benchop, my guest this evening, Paul Slowe, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police. What we will do now is take a quick break, and we will be back. I have some more questions for Mr. Slowe, but we'll take a quick break and be right back with more of the Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired Paul Slowe.
So this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
All right, Shellen Washington, attorney at law. Tomorrow afternoon, there's her program, The Law and You, with Shellen Washington. In fact, she has invited me to be on there. We will be talking immigration matters, a very important subject at this point in time. All right, as we move on with tonight's program, I guess Paul Slowe, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police. We want to touch on a very, very controversial topic. But before we get to that, I haven't been hearing much about the Police Service Commission in terms of disciplinary actions against some of these individuals, these police ranks who have been committing all manner of questionable acts against citizens. Is that the job of the Police Service Commission to rake these guys in and discipline them, sir?
Yeah, well, yes, the Article 212 of the Constitution of Guyana states quite clearly that the Police Service Commission is responsible for disciplining ranks in the force from inspector all the way to assistant commissioner. But the way the system works is far from satisfactory, is that um, the commission does not have any investigatory capacity. So what happens? The commissioner waits until matters are referred to it from the administration of the police force, and therein lies the problem. Because you might see or you might hear lots of things where officers and inspectors commit themselves or are alleged to have committed certain acts. And in many cases, these matters are not referred to the Police Service Commission for action to be taken. When I was the chairman of the Police Service Commission, what the commission would then do is when we see these things in the newspaper or elsewhere, we would write to the administration of the police force and inquire or ask them to report on the conduct or the alleged conduct of these people, and we will take it from there. But I don't know what is going on now with the commission. We could all remember that the commission that I chaired was unlawfully suspended on the 16th of June 2021. And for a long time thereafter, there was no commission. Then the government attempted to put a commission in place, and they did not at that time have the Public Service Commission. And the Constitution is clear that the chairman of the Public Service Commission must be a member of the Police Service Commission. So in the absence of the chairman of the Public Service Commission, they could not have been a properly constituted Police Service Commission. Notwithstanding that, they went ahead, they made promotions, they attempted to do certain actions, which was challenged in court. And the court, Chief Justice Roxanne Jart, ruled that the Police Service Commission was not properly constituted in the absence of the chairman of the Public Service Commission. But what she did, she used the de facto doctrine to save the actions that were taken, including the promotions that were made at that time, and indicated that, well, the commission cannot do anything until it is properly constituted. A few months ago, we saw that former Minister Maniram Prasad is now the chairman of the Public Service Commission, and therefore automatically is the ex officio member of the Police Service Commission. So that body now is fully constituted, but you're not hearing anything from them. They were constituted early to make promotions and all of that. And once they made those initial promotions on the 2nd of July last year, it was so rushed that people who had left the force were promoted. People who one person promoted to more than one rank, and a lot of confusion because they rushed to do it and did not do any due diligence. On the 1st of July last year, on the sidelines of the annual the police Jumat service, anniversary Jumat service, the chairman, Bishop Finlay, was questioned about the promotions in the force. And he made it clear, it's there for us to see, that they had not reached that stage because he was awaiting recommendations from the police administration and all that. And the very next day, the 2nd of July, 2022, the promotions were made. So between the time he spoke to the media and the time those promotions were made, you could very well tell there could have been no due diligence. A list was sent to him, and they just stamped the list and they sent it back. So what you have, that is what you have. But the Police Service Commission is now properly constituted, and we await to see what they will do in terms of promotion and discipline. But let me say this, most people, including members of the force, are only concerned with one aspect of the Police Service Commission, that is promotion. But when it comes to the disciplinary part, they are not too concerned, even the commission itself. And that is one of the things we sought to change when we were there at the Police Commission, because an important work or important aspect of the Service Commission is the disciplining of those ranks. And you can't have, as they have now, people being committing themselves, or people committing acts with impunity. And so much so that during that promotion that I referred to, that took place on the 2nd of July, you had a lot of persons, senior people, senior superintendent, and they were promoted even though they had serious disciplinary matters pending. So again, I say that commission or the current commission did not do any due diligence. All of those rules were thrown through the window. People with pending serious disciplinary matters pending, including senior officers, promoted. And that is what we have.
That's what we have in the 30 minutes after 9 o'clock. It seems as though the Police Service Commission is just a rubber stamp, a total waste of time. As Mr. Paul Slowe indicated, that they should be dealing with disciplinary actions against senior police officers, I believe from the rank of inspector and up, they're responsible for promoting. But I'm also of the view, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Paul Slowe, you were once the chairman of the Police Service Commission, that the Police Service Commission can discipline any rank or just inspector and up. Which one?
Just inspector and up. The Constitution is clear. But they do have a role with respect to the other ranks. And this is something that is not perhaps as widely known as it should. Because even though the Constitution says that the Police Service Commission is responsible for promotion and discipline of ranks from inspector to assistant commissioner, when it comes to discipline, the Police Service Commission is the ultimate disciplinary authority. So all other ranks, and that is to say ranks, constables, lance corporal, corporal, sergeants, if they are disciplined in the force by the commissioner or by the divisional commander, they can appeal any decision made by those persons to the Police Service Commission. So in that sense, the Police Service Commission has a role to play in the discipline of the junior ranks. If they were to appeal, for example, a rank is charged disciplinarily, reduced in rank by the commissioner, dismissed from the force by the commissioner, or any other punishment, they can appeal that decision to the Police Service Commission. The Constitution provides for that.
All right, Mr. Paul Slowe, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, here with us this evening, Friday evening, the 8th of September. Let's move on. Recently, we heard about the promotion of a very controversial police rank. Controversial indeed. You have had dealings with him. We heard a particular lawyer also had some sort of dealing with that situation where he denied her access to her lawyer. He briefly detained her, arrested her, so to speak. That policeman also attempted to commit and committed what is called a questionable arrest. When you appeared in court there, he held you by the back of your pants, a lot of disrespect there. Are you at all worried with the future of law enforcement in Guyana, especially since that particular controversial police rank is now a commander?
Well, yes, people look, this thing, I have had a few episodes when I made the point. The subject was the crisis in management in the police force. And this is another example. This is a man that you're referring to, Superintendent Krishna at Romana. Romana was at SOCU, the Special Organized Crime Unit. He spent a lot of years there. He was the, what I would say, the point of the spear. So all of those controversial charges against politicians, and that he was the person who is there as the investigator. He's the person who went to court as the complainant in some case, as the informant in other cases. He's the man. Now, as you were saying, in the matter where myself and some other retired senior police officers and serving members of the force faced a trump-up charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, which is still before the court, pending. The trial starts sometime at the end of this month. I was abroad, and this is the officer who applied for a summon in the court. He got a summon for me to attend court on the 15th of October 2021 to attend court. And when I traveled to attend court, I traveled from overseas to attend court. He's there in the compound to arrest me in respect to the same charge. He alarmed to me, as you rightly pointed out, and they're trying to manhandle me. This is the same person who, after that, is promoted from assistant superintendent to superintendent. He jumped a rank and jumped a lot of people. So he is awarded for unprofessional conduct. And more than that, he is the same person who arrested attorney Tamika Clark for advising her client not to give a statement to the police. I mean, it was all over. He arrested an attorney at law. I want people to understand that clearly, for advising our client to remain silent. And what happened? Shortly thereafter, well, a private criminal charge was filed. The DPP null pros discontinued the charge. The attorney quite rightfully filed a civil action against him. The Chief Justice ruled that our rights were violated by this officer. She is to award damages at some future date. But that is a ruling there that this officer violated the constitutional right of the lawyer. What happens? He's moved from Soku, he is put at traffic. One of the mouthpieces of the Guyana police force had an article saying that he is going to take over traffic. He was to take over traffic as the traffic chief of Guyana from the 1st of September this year. Then we read in the news that the man has gone now to East Coast. The man is now the commander of the police division. So this is a man who has committed these egregious acts, and instead of being disciplined, the man is being promoted from assistant superintendent to superintendent, and then he's now promoted further to head a police division. So I want people to understand exactly what is going on, and that is why we say the police force is in there's a serious management crisis in the police force. And you know, Minister Ben, Robeson Ben, the Minister of Home Affairs, is reported to have said sometime last week when he was asked about this man, Ramana, being in charge of Regional Police Division 4C, that he's the best they have. That is what the minister is alleged to have said, that this man is the best they have to put in charge of the division. And if that is the case, then God help the force and God help Guyana. Because if a man who has displayed all this incompetence is the best that they have, well, God help us.
Indeed, the displaying of incompetence seem to be a long shopping list of this individual and many other senior ranks of the Guyana police force. Obviously the public wouldn't have confidence in such a man who cannot respect the rights of an attorney to execute his or her duty. In the case of that attorney, he arrested that attorney for exercising her legal rights. And I am concerned about this man. In fact, the way that he handled you as well, illegality there at the Georgetown Magistrates Court, but more so, he's now a commander of a division in charge of that entire division. People would continue to lose confidence in the Guyana police force with these kind of things as senior police officer. Your take on how you think the public might be feeling about all these questionable acts?
Well, as you rightly pointed out, I can't see the public having confidence in the force, and individuals like these, if they're there, they clearly lack the knowledge, they clearly lack the professionalism. And one of the worrying part too, because if the man at the top is doing these type of unlawful, unconstitutional acts, then you could imagine what is going to happen at the bottom, because there's no one there. Obviously, he doesn't know, and therefore he can't command that type of respect from his ranks. He can't teach the ranks what is the correct thing to do, and therefore one can very well expect that the rights of the ordinary man, the right of citizens, will be violated with impunity. And you know, the troubling part, the artful part, is that those people down at the bottom there, the ordinary man, don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the resources to challenge these illegal actions. So these people continue to operate with impunity.
Lots of illegal actions. That is why the topic tonight, of course, with our guest, no other than Paul Slowe, who is more qualified to speak on these matters right now in Guyana. It might be a few others, yes, but Paul Slowe, he's our guest this evening. No rule of law in Guyana. Mr. Paul Slowe, Clifton Hickens, once a commander, stationed out there in Linden. Biggest controversy there with the shooting to death of 3 Lindeners who had nothing to do with a protest, or maybe a peaceful protest. He was never held accountable at all. Later became commander a division, moved up, became officer in charge of enforcement, I believe, and then now acting commissioner of police. He is past the age of retirement, but the installed president of the PVP regime decided that he's going to extend his stay in office as acting commissioner of police and has not given a date as to when he will be acting until. Talk to us here on Straight Up. I know you spoke about that on your show, Speaking Out, but talk to us about the illegality, or how concerned are you about this particular move by Irfan Ali to extend this guy's stay in office?
Well, I spoke about it. I've said a long time that Ikin is not qualified either academically or otherwise to be the commissioner of police in Guyana. You highlighted the one incident, but there are several other incidents. And, I am now reluctant to speak forward on it because the matter is sub judice. His extension has been challenged. I think it comes up sometime next month, excuse me, before the Chief Justice. And I don't think it will be appropriate to make too many comments. But I say, well, suffice to say that I think the action is unconstitutional, unlawful for the very reasons that have been highlighted by the attorney who has brought the case. So I guess we have to wait and see what the court will rule.
41 minutes after 9 o'clock, wait until the court is ruled. As some of you would know that in Guyana, well, the British law says that once a matter is before the court, it becomes sub judice, means that you cannot talk about it at all. Unlike what happens in the US, you can go on all shows, whether CNN, wherever you are, and talk about any matter that is pending. But in Guyana, it is different. Mr. Paul, so with all these things that we're seeing and corruption in the Guyana police force, breakdown of the rule of law, no proper leadership, and you have used the term politicized. The Guyana police force is being used as a political weapon by some politicians who are disguised as policemen and women. And this is not to paint the entire police force as being bad. We still know they have some very good senior ranks and even the junior ranks as well. But how much of political influence that we're seeing, or political control of the Guyana police force under these installed folks in the PPP?
Now, let me say this without any fear of contradiction. There is not a single senior or not a single management decision, and I'm talking here about operational decision, is made without the involvement or without the directions of politicians. And, just look at some of the comments made by the president, by the Home Affairs Minister. They are getting involved in the operational matters of the force, and that is evidence of the politicization. President can come out to say, they must have what you call operations to deal with that, and he's directed or he's advised the commissioner. The minister is making similar statement. That's outside of their remit. The law is clear. The Minister of Home Affairs deals with policies in relation to the Guyana police force, the president as well. But operational matters, such as the way to operate in terms of he was referring to the carnage on the road, and they must have operations, they must have campaigns and all of that. That is not for the president and the minister to decide. Those are operational matters. The president can deal with the policy, the government policy, the Home Affairs Minister as well, is to ensure that there's a reduction in accident. How that is done has to be left to the commissioner of police and the police officers. But when they double and they do that, that is where you have the problem. That is where, because it is so politicized, and these unprofessional and incompetent people they have in senior positions are not capable of saying to these politicians very politely to say, well, sir, I'm sorry, sir, but you should not be making these type of statements. But they make the statements and people believe that they have a right to do so. And that is part of the problem. That is part. They are getting involved in operational matters of the force, and there where the problem lies. They decided who must be arrested. They decided who must be charged. They decided, and the politicians, and there are about 3 of them, 3 or 4 of the politicians who are calling the shots You had an incident, well, this with the same Tamika Clark, the lawyer who was arrested by Ramana at Soku. The Attorney General, Anil Mohamir Anil Nanlal, is on record as saying that he called and instructed them to release the attorney. That is interference. That is not within the remit of the attorney. He tried to justify it by saying he's a constitutional advisor or some nonsense like that. But he cannot get involved in that aspect. And who he called? He called the people at Soku, not the commissioner, not his colleague minister. He called directly. That is what he said. And we're saying that those things are wrong and those things are causing problems in the organization.
They're causing lots and lots of problems in the organization. Not so long ago, you have had to deal with this publicly to reveal to members of the public the way in which this guy, the installed, and my description, the installed president of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, Irfan Ali. Irfan Ali called you, as you have described and explained to us, to commit an illegal act. So therefore, you shouldn't be surprised as to what is happening in the Guyana police force right now.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm far from being surprised. You recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, there's a viral video where the president snatched one of his security personnel. And that is what you're having. That is what you're having. And the people, I know that the ranks are demoralized. And you made the point, which I have been making time and time again, that you have competent, honest, dedicated ranks in the force. What the problem is that the leadership, in many cases, that is what is lacking. You have leaders who are just there to carry out political directions. And therefore, the ranks know that. The junior ranks know that some of these directions, some of these instructions they're given are political directions, but they are fearful. I have never seen the Guyana police force, ranks in the force, so fearful of doing the correct thing because they don't want to tread on this body's toe or not want to. For example, traffic, tints, they stop certain people with tint, and because they are connected, nothing happens. Nothing. You have the Darmlal case, a clear case of rape. Clear case. What happens? Intervention by the DPP, and nothing happens. So when people see this type of thing, the ranks know. The ranks know, and the ranks will tell you. The few brave ones will tell you what is going on. But the majority of them are fearful because they are going to be victimized. They are fearful of being victimized. And sometimes you have to see with them. You have to see with them because it's not easy for you to be living on the coast, let's say, and you have a family, and then you're victimized, and suddenly overnight you're sent to Ethering or some remote location away from your family, especially if you have small children going to school and that. It is not easy, so people prefer to just, as we would say in the military, just fall in and cover down. But I have been cautioning them, while you fall in and cover down, make sure you do not break the law. And no one can compel you or no one can order you to do something that is unlawful. So I have been advising them on my program and other fora to make sure that you follow the law and you do the correct thing, because those very people will throw you under the bus if it comes to that.
Absolutely. 49 minutes after 9 o'clock, Mr. Paul Slowe did mention about that tape, that footage that we saw on social media where Irfan Ali just assaulted a member of his security team, just assaulted that individual. And we can go to that video now.
Specific fields, there will be a booth designated to that here tonight. So persons who are unemployed and looking to become employed, they can come down here to the Providence National Stadium.
Paul Slowe, we saw what happened to that security agent there for Irfan Ali. He was assaulted. Was there any reason, you being a police officer with 37 plus years experience, explain to us how you felt when you saw that, a man who sits there, quote unquote, as the president of Guyana, behave in that manner?
But again, I say that it confirms what we've been saying, that the unprofessionalism, not only on the part of the ranks, but at the part of the president as well. You know, apart from being a police officer for 37 years, I was actually in charge of the Presidential Guard for a period of time during the tenure of Dr. Jagan, and therefore I have a little understanding about the guard should work. It appears as though these people are not properly trained. Something this rank must have done which caused the president to do that. Is not to justify the president's action. But then, what do you expect? The person who's in charge of the Presidential Guard is an electrician, a man who was on retirement leave, pre-retirement leave on 2020, August, when he was called out from retirement leave, allegedly by the vice president, to head the Presidential Guard. He has absolutely no training in diplomatic security or anything like that. So I am not, when I see the actions of these people, I am not surprised. I am disappointed, but I'm not surprised because I say it shows lack of training. The fact that this rank, whoever he is, would have been doing something that caused the president to respond in that manner shows that some form of unprofessionalism on his part and on the part of the president as well.
You know, from looking at that tape, Mr. Paul Slowe, that it is pretty obvious that what that security rank was doing at that time was preventing persons from getting close to Irfan. And he merely, again, I've watched the tape a couple of times in order to ascertain what may have gone wrong that caused Irfan Ali to behave this normal self in rather silly and stupid way. But what the rank attempted to do was to prevent Sarah Ann Lynch and maybe her security guy from going close to Irfan Ali. Irfan Ali then saw that and immediately reacted, grabbed the rank and pushed him out of the way. That's all that I saw happen there. It is not that the rank did anything wrong, other than his job is to prevent anyone from going close to whoever it is that he's securing. I don't know if you saw it that way, but that's how.
Well, yes, and let's assume that the president wasn't pleased with the person preventing whoever it was, whether it's the U.S. ambassador or someone else from getting close to him. All you have to indicate to the rank, look, allow that person to come or something like that. But to physically manhandle the security like that in the face of all the cameras, these things that don't surprise me. You know, as I said, I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed. But these things happen so that we can see exactly what we have in these, who and what we have in these positions. So that is the thing. That is the thing. Because I would expect, as part of the training, as you rightly pointed out, the rank would have been there to prevent people from getting to the president. And even the U.S. ambassador, because nobody would present it, but if the president saw that and wanted the ambassador to approach, then you have to have dealt with it in a much better manner, not to manhandle the security like that.
We can't, Mr. Paul Slowe. We can't expect any better. You know, we just can't because.
Well, I don't think. Well, that is a true statement. We just can't. We just can't. You know, country people. I'm from the country, and they talk about the pig and the mud, and I think that pig and the mud story is applicable with something like this.
I like that. Pig and the mud. 54 minutes after 9 o'clock. Pig and the mud. Can do better. We just have a few minutes remaining. Pig and the mud. Indeed, pig and the mud. Mr. Paul Slowe, when we look around the country every day, killings, questionable drowning, and all these manner of things, road accidents, you name it, every single thing, every day. Recently, we heard of a double murder out at Rose Hall. It's still unsolved. Every single day, crimes upon crimes upon crimes in Guyana. Yet these people in the installed regime and the leadership, the corrupt leadership of the Guyana police force as well, along with the installed Minister of Home Affairs, they seem to have their heads in the sand. What is happening in the country, and what approach needed or is needed to be taken at this point in time?
Well, not only they have their heads in the sand, but they like the proverbial ostrich, the heads in the sand and the posterior well exposed. Because in the light of all that is happening, they will tell you, oh, that crimes are under control and that crimes are done. And I had to let them know, I've been pointing out, that the World of Statistics reported for 2022 showed that Guyana has the 7th highest crime rate in the world. The only country in this part of the world with the worst crime rate is Trinidad and Tobago. Guyana is at number 7. Trinidad is at number 6. When it comes to fatal accident, the same thing. We are very right up there. I did a program not so long about it. And the worrying thing, as I have pointed out, is that the people are in a state of denial. They will tell you, oh, accidents are down. Well, recently I saw the Minister Ejil stating that accidents are up by, fatal accidents are up by, or deaths are up by 60%. And I question that as well. Even though that is an extremely high percentage, I question it because they have been cocking the figures. All of a sudden, as you know too, I was traffic chief on 2 occasions, and therefore I know what system was used to tabulate these figures. But all of a sudden, they are making a distinction between fatal accidents and fatal incidents. So, and they have not said to the public what is an accident and what is an incident. And it's very difficult to understand, because I recall sometime this year or last year, it might have been, there was an accident on the number 19 public road where someone was traveling in a car coming west and encountered some animal. The vehicle crashed into the animal and 2 persons died in that accident, and they're calling it an incident. So to them, there's not a fatal accident, it's an incident. And the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act, Chapter 5102, is very clear. This thing happens on a road, and once it's on a road, it's a fatal, it's an accident. But they're making all kind of distinction and telling all kind of lies. And I'm saying this, that if you fail to admit, or if you refuse to admit the reality, it simply means that you're not going to be putting measures in place to deal with it. That is the worrying part. And you refer to this the double murder with this lady and her child. Again, police arrested 5 persons, including the person who found the body and made the report. Arrested her brother, arrested all those persons. And it is clear that those arrests were made without proper work being done, because all of those 5 persons were released, and then 2 were rearrested. And it has now been reported in the media that those 2 that were rearrested have been released as well. So one questions what type of investigation is done before you move to the state of arresting people. And there's a dangerous trend now where when persons are arrested, including these 5 persons and including those who were arrested recently for the murder at Luziknan, their names and photographs appear in the picture and in the newspapers. And I know from the protocol that was developed, the media protocol developed for the Guyana Police Force with the assistance of the UK consultants and the Guyana Press Association, there was a no-no. We made it clear you're not going to release the names and photographs of persons who are arrested. When the persons are charged, yes, this person is charged for this offense. But the mere arrest of a person and then you release them and that they're stigmatized. And again, I say, that what happens is that these people don't have the resources, they don't have the wherewithal to challenge these things in court, because that's a clear violation of the person's constitutional right. You arrested a man, and then you find that there's no evidence against him. But before that, you have his picture, you have his name, everything plastered in the media. That is wrong. That is wrong. And you know, the same Ramana, when he arrested the lawyer, he told her, he asked her if she know what his, told her that our client is compellable. That is what this officer, a senior officer in the Guyana Police Force, told a lawyer, that our client is compellable to give evidence. When this person is a suspect in a matter, is compellable. So that is what we have.
Compellable. We are watching our operator now, and our operator has indicated that it is compellable. Right. Mr. Paul Slowe, it's always a pleasure to have you here, and I do watch your show sometimes. Speaking out, give my regard to your sidekick, so to speak, your co-host, Mr. Conway. We do believe, and I speak for thousands of people, that you guys, as former senior ranks of the Guyana Police Force, you're doing a great job in holding these folks accountable. It seems to be falling on deaf ear, but do not lose sleep, because majority members of the public have a better understanding now, and they understand why is it that these corrupt individuals in the PPP are controlling some of those corrupt senior police ranks in the Guyana Police Force. Crimes cannot be solved properly, and even when they arrest people, they just institute questionable charges with the help of their friends at the DPP chambers as well. Lots and lots of corruption and breakdown of the rule of law. We find that people who are charged with, for example, the Boston murder, Quindon Bacchus murder, and lots of other murders under questionable circumstances, everything seems to be dying away. We have even folks who were charged with the 2020 elections. Their matters are called regularly, and the prosecutors are not ready. We have innocent people being charged, convicted, and all manner of things. People seem to be losing hope. As in your closing remarks now, Mr. Paul Slowe, do you have any hope that you can leave with the people, please?
Well, there's always said where there's life, there's hope, and one can hope that things can change. But it's going to take a Herculean effort to change things, because things are going in the wrong direction. Whether it's murder, whether it's the investigations of these murder, whether it's traffic accident, whether it's general management of the force and the country, things seems to be going in the wrong direction all the time. There's hardly a day when you don't have any negative news. And we want to make these things negative. When you have these fatal accidents, when you have these murders, only yesterday I think it was the report of a young lady murdered at Porica, or body burnt and all of that. So it's every day you have these things. Every day, boat capsized, 2 men drowned, and so many fires. We haven't touched on the fires tonight. Every day, yesterday, again, somewhere on the East Coast, someplace burned down. You had the Maja fire, 20 children killed in that fire. You have had so many other incidents almost on a daily basis. And all we can say, we have to pray that things change. And some people say, in order for things to change, you have to have divine intervention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Slowe, retired Assistant Commissioner of Police, giving his time always and tirelessly. We need to hear more from you guys who are senior ranks and have served the Guyana Police Force distinction. You've held your side of the coin in terms of sticking to the rule of law when you were threatened and intimidated by those in power. You stood your ground, and for that we salute and we say thank you, sir. Again, thank you for your service, and thank you for tonight's 55 plus minutes with us, and thank you for the early morning call and the birthday greetings. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Mark, and good night to you and your listeners. And again, enjoy the rest of your birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Paul Slowe, Assistant Commissioner of Police, retired. I've got to go now. I promise you guys just 1 hour. We've gone over that by 5 minutes. And to all of you who have extended your birthday greetings to me, I just want to say thank you all very much. I know some of you try to reach me via phone. I'm sorry I wasn't able to take your call, but I got all of your text messages, and I've read most of your messages on social media as well. But for now, I'm getting up the hill, guys. Not Capitol Hill, but I'm heading up the hill. And I'm very thankful that I'm able to live to see yet another birthday. And to those of you who are celebrating your birthdays, a birthday as well today, maybe tomorrow, over the weekend, let me just extend a happy birth anniversary to all of you. And I do so on behalf of all of us here at 107.1 FM. Ms. Shellon Washington, our attorney at law, who has her program on tomorrow, 4 o'clock. You guys got to tune in. We will be talking about immigration matters. And also Wayne Caesar. Wayne is going to be back next week, Monday or Tuesday. But for now, thank you all so much. I am reading some of your comments. I recognize and I acknowledge all of them. God bless. Have a great rest of the evening.
Hello, this is attorney Shellon Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm ready singing and the dancers really admire them. Yes, they're singing. Ching, ching, ching. See for mama, and 10 fat chickens, and I she for one, and she won't give me one. You see that garden, named Dorothy, she fat like a butter, and she maggle like a chop. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Never had some little children. I'm gonna sing it and dance, that's really admire them. What they're singing? On your carpet, you must be like the roses, all you need, bright and shining, you must be, and show me the one, love the best. When I marry, I give you the ring. First the girl, second the boys, Sunday, Monday, afternoon, we will spend our honeymoon. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm gonna sing it and the dancers really admire them. Join the singing. Old man house on fire. The old man ran away. He ran for the police to get the water. He only fired on the escalator. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Escalator, shoot, shoot, shoot. And I wipes the lady face. The lady wipes the lady face. And she fell down, and she fell down, and she fell in the ocean too. Oh, smallness is still on my mind. Smallness is a good time. Neighbor has some little children. I'm really singing and the dancers really admire them. Hear them singing? Children, children, yes, mama. Where you been? Grandmama. What she give you? Bread and cheese. Where is mine? On the shelf. How big a get up?